Hello, everybody, and welcome to the PHLY Eagles postgame show presented by Bet365. Download the Bet365 app and use code PHLY365 when you sign up. Whatever the moment, it's never ordinary at Bet365. And boy, was this not an ordinary Week 3 game for the Philadelphia Eagles. An ugly start, a couple of turnovers, a fourth down inconversion, and then you lose Lane Johnson, you lose DeVonta Smith, and still the Eagles have enough star power with Saquon Barkley, 17 carries for 147 yards. There it is. Dallas Goedert, a career-high 10 for 170. Jalen Carter dominating this game on the line of scrimmage. The defense shows up. It is a come-from-behind, gritty 15-12 win for the Eagles in New Orleans, a place that they have struggled for a long time. Troy Polamalu, the man they call Reed Blankenship, sealing it with an interception at the end. Vinny, how you feeling?
Oh, I'm feeling awesome, man. That's Philadelphia football right there. That's Philadelphia football right there. That's what we was expecting last week, but we got it this week. And Saquon! That's how you do it.
And that was the play. Because, I mean, so much happens after that. But that's the immediate play after DeVonta Smith gets knocked out of this game on a dirty hit by the Saints. And you're thinking to yourself, oh, my God, they're out. AJ, Lane, and DeVonta, how are they going to find a way to score? And one touch later, Saquon runs as fast as he has in like 5 years, certainly his longest run in a very long time. And then later comes the Goddard play. But that play, did you feel like sort of swung the game in a way, Fran?
No question, because it prevented the shutout. Remember, the Eagles had no points at that point on the scoreboard, and you didn't feel great, especially you lose DeVonta Smith. Where are the explosive plays going to come from? The Eagles had 5 plays of 20-plus yards up to that point. And so then to have Saquon Barkley go 65 yards on a play that was masterfully blocked up from the offensive line, I thought Greg Olsen did a great job of breaking that down on the broadcast, because you had slants working against the Eagles' offensive line. It's a zone run play. And so those guys, it's not man-to-man where you're following guys. You have to block whoever's in your area. And so when you have slants and you've got a linebacker scraping over the top, for those guys to be able to solve that on the fly, which is also a little bit weird too, because that's a zone run play. When you have the running back to the left, that typically is a run play going to the right. So for them to go to the left, to block that on the fly, just an outstanding job from the entire offensive line.
And then you see the breakaway speed from Saquon.
Yeah,
we got a lot to get to. We're going
that was his fastest run time in 5 years.
That's right.
He hit just shy of 22 miles an hour.
Love that.
Man, that was all running back right there. Like he said, man, to run that into a run stunt that was sick.
So we're going to hear from Nick Sirianni in New Orleans in a little bit. We're going to hear from Zach Berman as well. Give us a pulse of the locker room, maybe some Jalen Hurts as well. But let's talk about the defense at the top here, because so much on this defense coming into this game. The Saints, the best offense in the league through 2 weeks of the season. And the defensive line, Jamie, dominated this game. Jalen Carter, a bit of a statement game.
Yeah, I think this was the best game of Jalen Carter's young career here. I thought he dominated from the opening whistle to the final whistle. Made impact plays all over. Fran and I were talking. He may not get the glitz and glamour for the big splash play per se, but he stuffed some third downs. He hurried the quarterback nonstop. He disrupted every pocket. He absolutely manhandled the Saints offensive line today. I think Jalen Carter, obviously Goddard comes up big and Saquon comes up big, but I think if it's not for Jalen Carter today, I don't think the Eagles win this game.
And you saw him sort of John at the side.
Hell yeah.
That's what I'm saying.
Talk your talk.
Listen, he had to win almost 99, if not 98% of his one-on-one matchups today. He dominated today, like you said.
And it was impressive and also necessary, because the Saints lose 2 interior offensive linemen in this game, so he gets a chance to go against these backup players. And he was good early in the game too, but for him to come throughout this game, I mean, he was all over the place.
And then they were trying to cheap shot him a little bit and agitate him a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
He's one of those guys that he don't take nothing from anybody, but he
seems to me like a guy who you don't want to give extra motivation.
Don't poke the bear.
Man, wow, pure domination from him.
Yeah, you were talking about as we watched this game, Vinny. So much pressure on the defensive line, given the way that they played the first 2 weeks of the season, all the talk about it. The way that this game worked out, the Saints sort of invited them to have those 5-man fronts. They were mostly staying in big packages. You got to see the guy on the nose tackle, as we were talking about, made things a little bit easier for them up front, you thought?
Yeah, I definitely think so. But it goes back to now we need everybody to dominate their one-on-ones. And I think that's what you basically saw today. They dominated the line of scrimmage from the beginning of the game to the end of the game. and forced, the quarterback to overthrow some of his receivers and big mistakes. And I just hats off, Vic. I said, we see you, baby. We see you. You know what I mean? Because I'm pretty sure there was like church in there.
Tough week.
Fran, what did you see that Vic did differently in this game? Because, I mean, they stifled this Saints offense.
Yeah, I mean, you held Alvin Kamara to 3.3 yards a carry after he'd been one of the most explosive and efficient runners in all of football through the first 2 weeks. And I think just leaning into those five-man fronts, they played a lot of base defense, the Eagles, and even when they needed to, it wasn't just a 5-2 front. We saw some 6-1 front. So just trying to change things up. We saw some late movement before the snap. So, Derek Carr, he makes his checks, and then after the check, you'd see the front change. So you'd see maybe Zach Berman lined up behind Jalen Carter. He'd step down and be as a defensive end just before the snap. And so that's going to mess with your blocking schemes. And if that just works one time to get you off the field one time, that's a win for the Eagles. And so I'm excited to go back through the film tomorrow morning and just get a sense of all the different little things and little wrinkles that we saw. But for me,
some Milton Williams on the edge and some of those fronts.
Yeah. So you saw Milton Williams up front, moved around. We saw Zach Berman moved around. We saw Brandon Graham moved around. Bryce
BG
Huff,
with the rush on that interception.
Yeah, crazy. That was crazy.
We saw Bryce Huff early, and then in those early downs, we didn't see him too much after that. So I think that, look, they made some adjustments, and they were much needed. To me, like we saw it on the opening drive, though, the way those guys just came off the ball, Vinny, you could tell, like, this was a day where they were going to come to play.
It goes back to what we were saying last week. That's what we was expecting. And to see that this week is a great feeling. You go down to New Orleans, get a win like this. Oh, I know that plane ride gonna be fun back home, man.
Another guy, I thought
it's gonna be keep it down because you got Lane Johnson and DeVonta both like dealing with concussions. Like let's not go yelling.
Defensively, another guy I thought was excellent today was Zach Berman. He stuffed the run, played well in coverage.
Tackles.
Yeah, I thought he was kind of all over the place defensively. He's been impressive through 3 games. I know he was getting cut block a lot last week and kind of taken out of the game, but that's a credit to him, right, for being a guy that you need to take out of the game. So I thought Zach Berman again showed up nicely.
And the fact that the Eagles win this game by 3 points, super tight game. Obviously, they get the 2-point conversion at the end. They outgained the Saints in this game 460 to 219. If were it not for the turnovers, this game could have been a domination. That said, let's talk about the quarterback for a second. Jalen Hurts, 29 of 38 for 311 yards, an interception, obviously lost a fumble. But you talk about the fourth quarter, leading 2 touchdown drives. One of them is Saquon heavy. The other was a long run from Dallas Goedert. But he's doing it without A.J. Brown, without DeVonta Smith, without Lane Johnson, without Mekhi Becton, and still is able to sort of lead them down against what is a good defense.
I mean, what did he have, 2 incompletions in the second half? It was something like that, and one of them was the throwaway on that blitz to Kenny Gainwell. It wasn't even a throwaway; it was a miscommunication.
Right.
That's one of them, right? So
to me,
look, the turnovers. We talked about the one at halftime, and for those that didn't watch, to me, like the DeVonta Smith interception in the end zone, that was the same route concept that the Eagles ran for a touchdown last week. I thought Matthew just jumped it. The ball came out exactly when it was supposed to from Jalen. We'll look exactly if the ball was where it needed to be, but it looked the accuracy on that looked fine. To me, that was Tyrann Mathieu seeing that play on film from a week ago, jumping it and making a play. The fumble's inexcusable. You got to protect the football. If you feel that rush coming, you were flushed from the pocket. He can't put the ball on the ground in that situation. But aside from those 2 turnovers, which are big, and you can't have those turnovers, I thought Jalen played a really good game.
What did you think of Jalen today, Vinny?
Man, I told you, I said this last week when we was talking about Hurts a little bit. I just knew that he was going to have, the type of day that he had today. Like, obviously you can't, fumble the football, but that interception that, I thought that was a good, I thought that was a good throw and a good play.
It was a good play by Matt.
Yes. So thank you. So I thought he did well. I thought he really, really showed up and showed who he was in that fourth quarter. Like you said, you losing 2 key weapons like that, and for them to really pull it out, between him and Saquon and Dallas, just to pull it together is great for Philadelphia.
On the big Goddard play at the end there, Fran, what happens there?
So basically, we talked about it this week. The Saints love to play man coverage when you get into money downs. It's third down; they're playing man coverage, and when you're going up against a team that likes to play man, you want to be able to run a lot of what we call man-beating routes. And one way to do that is run a lot of crossing routes over the middle of the field. You create traffic, you create interference. So we saw 2 or 3 Saints defenders running into each other on that play. That's by design. We could say like, oh, the defense messed up. That doesn't happen if the Eagles don't call that play. So that is you're hoping for that to happen if you are Kellen Moore, Nick Sirianni, and the Eagles offensive coaching staff. The play worked well. Dallas Goedert's wide open, and he has a huge day, obviously a career day. I know, Jamie, that was something you and I talked about as the afternoon was going.
Yeah, I mean, I was sitting here a week ago going like,
Get those bets, baby.
Yeah, Dallas Goedert too. I lost all this money last week with Bet365 because he didn't show up. And, a couple buddies this week were texting me like, Goddard, like, what's the deal? We need him to show up with no AJ. I mean, that's a career game. Forget like best in a long time. That is a career game. 17 yards of reception today. He was absolutely tremendous. That one with the one-handed grab with the sticky glove. Just an incredible game from Dallas Goedert.
And so big picture, if you take a step back now, for the Eagles to get this win, you got one more game before the bye next week at Tampa Bay. Obviously, you're dealing with some injuries, but you saw enough signs of life from the defense today to think that maybe this defense can be good, at least average over the course of the season. On offense, if you get Lane back, if you get AJ back, you get DeVonta back, you have seen the upside here. I think you feel better about the general state of things for the Eagles, as much as they do still have a lot of like procedural and game management stuff to clean up, which we can get to because there's a lot of stuff that makes us look at times like a poorly coached team. Big picture, I think this is a bit of a deep breath after like a tumultuous couple of weeks.
I don't want to compare it to the Brian Westbrook punt return, but that play saved a season. And I'm not trying to make too much of a week 3 game, but if you went down and 2 turnovers were the reason you didn't get that W today after the defensive performance they gave you, that would have been a big blow, I think, to that locker room. To pull this out, you might look back on this in 5-6 weeks and go like, damn, that was kind of the turning point. That's where they became a team and figured some stuff out. I mean, I don't want to put too much on it, but that was a monumentally huge win. Season defining, because I think if you go 1-2 there, the public is going to be all over Sirianni's ass. No mistakes at home can be made. You're going to have a grumpy stadium full of hoagie mouths calling for blood. I think emotionally in this town, things changed with that win.
Do you think that that's the case, Vinny? In that locker room, do you feel like this was a season changing type thing?
I think when it comes down to it, like he said, the defense played lights out today, but on offense, the guys that make the big bucks made big buck plays. So going into the locker room, I already know them 3 got to be feeling pretty good about themselves. And listen, this was definitely a statement win. Just to show them that we don't quit. Last week was just a fluke, and we back to playing Eagles football.
And by the way, we do have Saquon Barkley merch available for you on the PHLY locker if that's the kind of thing that interests you. We're going to hear from Nick Sirianni in a minute. Before we do that, let's tell you about our friends again at Bet365, because it's never ordinary at Bet365. Bet365 has 90 million users worldwide. They live stream over 780,000 events each year. Today, Bet365 offers the widest range of games and markets available for live in-game betting across 78 sports. Right now, new customers can get $200 in bonus bets when you bet just $5. Use the code PHLY365 to sign up, deposit $10, and place a bet for $5 to get $200 in bonus bets. Bonus bets can be used on the spread, totals, player props, futures, and more. They've got all kinds of good single-game parlays and boosts, especially on Sundays. So now that you're in a celebratory mood following this Eagles win, check out what they have got going on Bet365. Download the Bet365 app. Use code PHLY365 when you sign up to get $200 in bonus bets when you bet $5, whatever the moment. It's never ordinary at Bet365. Must be 21 or older and physically located in Pennsylvania. If you or someone you know has a gambling problem and wants help, call or text 1-800-GAMBLER.
And that win has me thirsty. I might actually have to leave during the Nick Sirianni press conference and go grab myself a cold Miller Lite out of the fridge. It's a Victory Miller Lite, and it's the original light beer since 1975, and so much has changed since then, except the great taste of Miller Lite. It tastes like a light beer should taste. Why is that? Because Miller Lite held on to everything that matters, and they got rid of all the crap they don't need. It's a light beer that tastes like a light beer should taste. It's just that simple. Undebatable quality, great taste, and only 96 calories. Less filling and only 96 calories. You can't beat it. The original since 1975, and you don't have to choose what's best. Miller Lite has great taste and is less filling. Tastes like Miller time. To get Miller Lite delivered right to your door, visit MillerLite.com/PHLYBirds, or you can find it pretty much anywhere that sells beer. Celebrate responsibly. Miller Brewing Company, Milwaukee, Wisconsin. 96 calories per 12 ounces, fewer calories and carbs than regular premium beer.
Just run down some of the stats here before we hear from Sirianni. We've touched on a few of these, but Kamara, 26 for 87, 3.3 yards per carry, 4.0 yards per carry per play for the Saints versus 6.9 for the Eagles. So they were moving the ball. It was just those big turnovers that had kept this game close at times, and some fourth down decisions, which we can get to.
Yes.
We talked about it at the halftime show. Fran, what did you make of the fake tush-push end around to Saquon? It's 4th and 1. You got one timeout left. There's about 16 seconds. You're at like the 18-yard line. Feels like the upside for that is pretty low.
So the three of us were sitting and watching the game. We were sitting there watching and saying, is this a go-for-it situation? And we were kind of split. We were saying, I don't know if this is the spot, but you can't kill them either way. And they say, they're going to go for it. They don't get it. And it's like, any other play call, you probably just let it go and say, they went for it. They didn't get it. That play call was probably a little too cute. And in that situation, especially to use that play, if you think that that's a winner for you. Now, I think there is something to be said for that's a play that if it does hit, is a big gainer.
Certainly that's the thinking behind
it. That's
right?
probably the thought in trying to use it there.
Because otherwise the upside of the tush push is you're just getting one shot at the end zone from like 18 yards out, which is not that high percentage of a thing. So if it's going to hit, that could score.
Right.
But also if you're going to risk that, maybe just take the points there.
Yes. That one was that's what made that just tough to swallow, is that it was you pulled out like this gadget play out of your back pocket in this one. The timing of that was questionable.
So obviously that's a play that they both agree on, or maybe that's Sirianni forcing more. Like, I wonder what the origin, because that does feel like a Sirianni type of play call there. Let me go peacock around a little bit. Let me bust out. Nobody saw it coming.
Well, I don't think that Kellen Moore is calling that play without Nick Sirianni's sign off in that situation.
Because it's Nick's call to go for it in terms of, so it's, hey, the question is, all right, let's go for it. You call whatever play you want, or let's go for it. Call this play. That's what we don't know, obviously.
Would love to know that in the press conference. Not that one's going to come up after that win, but
it might.
It could. It still will. Yeah,
it's a big play.
You got to give respect to the reporters. They're working hard to ask those questions. Vinny, let's give a little moment of shine to BG.
Bro,
getting home or almost getting home on that last pass rush to help spring the interception for Reed Blankenship. I mean, he's arguably been their best defensive lineman this year.
He got ice in his veins, man. Mr. Clutch. He wanted that one. And way to force the turnover. I'm so proud of him. He's been playing good through the last 3 weeks, and he's showing them, man. He done found the fountain of youth.
2 tackles in a hurry on the stat sheet, but like it just felt like we saw 55 way more than that.
He was setting edges.
He was setting edges, and he was setting other guys up. He was back there. He was back there a lot. He played in their backfield and on their side of the line of scrimmage the whole game.
And how about Reed Blankenship closing it down, Fran?
Yeah, I mean, that was obviously, look, a lot of that was created from the rush in terms of being able to prevent Derek Carr from being able to step into the throw. It's errant, it's overthrown, and Reed's able to make the play on the football. But that's what we've come to expect from Reed Blankenship, really since the moment he stepped on the field and put on an Eagles uniform, is that he can capitalize if the quarterback throws the ball his way.
So injury-wise, just to reset what did happen, Lane Johnson suffers a concussion. Pam Oliver reported he was vomiting on the sideline.
Yeah.
So obviously that's a scary situation and one to monitor. DeVonta Smith also suffers a concussion on what seemed like a pretty dirty play. That was a tough one to watch.
Yeah, I didn't like that play. I didn't like that play. The whistle was being blown, and that guy came in there full speed. I don't know.
I was glad that they didn't show the replay of it because they cut right before Turner made contact with DeVonta. Obviously, a very scary situation. I know, Jamie, you were following along on social media that the entire Eagles team was on their knees, like waiting for it. Was, I mean, obviously, hopefully DeVonta's okay.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, and there was a couple cheap shots in this game. I mean, Trevor Penning on Darius Slay at the end of the game. And I think that's kind of what led to Jalen Carter at the end of the game, like a double bird, like letting them fly a little bit because, they were cheap.
Jalen Carter, as we talked about, only credited with 4 tackles in this game. But he was,
and 2 hurries. He's got way more than this. A huge game from Carter. And that's looking through the box score.
That's Sirianni? Okay.
Well, there you go.
Let's go to Nick Sirianni. Hear what he has to say.
Courtesy
and every
of the
one of
Eagles
them did.
Website.
And you get better from your work, and you get better from your experiences. And sometimes losing, you grow a little bit more from that. Not that you want to do it, but you grow a little bit more from that. And these guys got better this week. And when we talk about we talk about, adversity, handling adversity. We talk about having the right mindset. You can have a victim mindset, which I think the world wants you to have, or, look at the negatives, which essentially the world wants you to have, or you can have a purpose mindset. And a purpose mindset is knowing that through bad things that happen, that if you let it, you'll get better. The other thing there is controlling, that we talk about is controlling what you can control. We can't control what anyone thinks of us. We can't control what anyone says about us. All we can control is our daily work, and they did that. And when you do that, you're going to be an example to somebody else. And our guys did that, like from Jalen to Brandon Graham to Jalen Carter to Grant Calcaterra to Quinyon to Slay. All those guys just showed how they handle adversity, and adversity it happens in life all the time, over and over and over again. You're going to have small losses in between in every single game, whether it's an interception, whether it's a fumble, whether it's me going for it in a 4th down scenario and we don't get it. You got to overcome those things, and I'm so proud of those guys that they did that. It just showed such a resilience and a team, right? A team plays together. A team has each other's back. I can't tell you how many times Saquon and Jordan, Mailata, and Chauncey came up to me as like, man, we got your back. We got your back, coach. I mean, this is a hard place to play. This is a hard place to win. Shoot, last time I was here, I think Drew Brees, the ball touched the ground one time. I think he was like 29 to 30. Y'all can do the stats. We ran out of here. That's a really good defense, and that's a good quarterback. That's a really good head coach and defensive mind in Dennis Allen. And so to come in here and to get a win like that is special. And we'll remember this. That brings a team closer together. Everybody, I know my dad's going to text me, hey, make sure that we win by a little bit more. I only got, you make it pretty nervous. It make me nervous, but when you win like that, man, it's special, and we're going to remember this one. And we're going to remember it on the way home. But then we're going to move on. But just a special team win today.
Nick, what does it say about a team? All the turnovers, blocked punt, whether you think it was a mistake or not a mistake when going for it. What does it say about the resilience, and I think you touched on it a little bit, of this football team?
Yeah, again, just to overcome, like, we know this is not sustainable. We said this after the Green Bay game. This is not sustainable. We got to take the ball away, and we did in a critical scenario, but we still lost the turnover battle. And so this is not sustainable to do it that way. We got to take care of the ball. We got to get the ball away from them. But, again, the resiliency, the defense played unbelievable. We played on that's a good offensive line. We played on their side of the line of scrimmage an awful lot. Jalen Carter played his butt off. Jordan Davis played his butt off when everybody has been doubting them all week. Well, what are we doing? Why are we drafting these guys? I've heard it all. I've heard everything. I try not to listen, but I got to come talk to the media 5 times a week, so you hear it all. And they responded because they didn't care about what anybody thought. And then when they weren't riding with them when we were losing, they ain't going to ride with us when we win. We heard it all. We heard everything, and they heard it, and they responded. And all you can do is control yourself. You're always going to have people saying different things about you. And they went out there, and they worked their ass off. I'm going to get emotional. They worked their ass off all week.
Is he going to cry?
Vic Fangio put them in a great spot all week. Clint Hurt put them in a great spot all week with the way he drilled them, the way he was on their ass all week. And they went out and responded, and they did it. My son's baseball coach always says that when they make a mistake in baseball, he's a really good coach, Coach Dan. He's like, so what? Now what?
I know Dan.
If they make a mistake in baseball, so what?
Buddy.
Now what?
Really?
And that's what they did. So what? We made a mistake.
I think.
We got to get over it. Now what?
Get him on the show.
Oh, my God.
We got to get Dan on the show.
It's Harper's kids, Trey kid, Hoffman kid.
just again, same thing. Like, it's just you always have to have the right mindset going into it, and it's just about the growth mindset. Sometimes this ball bounces weird. We saw a field goal get hit the upright and then bounce in, right? So sometimes you can't control this ball. and the way it bounces, all you control is your response. And their response all week, and their mindset was all week was a purpose mindset. And that's what I'm talking about. The way we were getting scooped out of outside zone last week, they had a response. We either could continue to let that happen to us or respond. Respond by putting them in the positions to potentially make a play, and then them playing their right technique. I told you all last week, no matter what's called, it's about playing on their side of the line of scrimmage and striking the defender and then tackling. That's what they did. But sometimes, and you don't want to lose, you never want to lose, but sometimes you get better from those losses. And we know that teams will come back to our game last week and say, but I know what they watched our game last week, they're going to watch this week too, and see us playing on their side of the line of scrimmage an awful lot. And so that's what I'm talking about. I didn't see Zach Berman get cut today. Why? Because he worked his ass off to do it, right? And I didn't see Jalen Carter getting scooped on the backside. Well, we saw him in the backfield a lot, right? That's what I'm talking about with this response. That's what I'm talking about with this response. Is just having the right mindset. Like I could talk about this all day long and about this mindset that you have after adversity happens to you. I mean, that is life. And these guys learn good lessons. Like I'm taking so much joy in not only teaching them lessons of football, but also lessons of life. And they taught themselves that today, and just how to respond when shit goes bad in your life. Sorry. On 3rd and 16, pass the guy. Yeah, shoot, that was the one he took all the way down. Yeah, man. Yeah, without giving too many secrets, maybe I'll do it. I'll talk to you guys. Maybe I'll talk to you, Zach, off the record at one point. But Zach. I saw a great throw by Jalen in the midst of, chaos. Gosh, that place is loud. This place is so loud. I'm glad we'll get ready for the crowd noise in Tampa, but holy smokes, this place is loud. But I saw Jalen completely operate in chaos. That was two things we talked about was like we got to be able to be physical in this game because that's a physical football team, and we got to have poise because it's going to be loud. And Jalen operated in chaos. The offensive line had good protection. Dallas ran a good route. I know y'all can look at it. There was some help from some other guys in that particular case with the guys how they ran into each other on that one. A couple things that we teach in that scenario that they executed perfectly. And then Dallas just went. I mean, he just turned it on and went. How many yards did he have? 170. I mean, you tell me. I don't know how many tight ends. That's a lot for a tight end, and he's an explosive player. Jalen put shallow routes like that are so critical that the ball's out in front of him, so he can have a ball to run with. So I don't want that to be overlook. Like if Jalen puts that here and he has to slow down at all, the guys get to react and come back and make that play. The pursuit comes, but Jalen put it here. From what I saw, again, I'm seeing it, and then Dallas could just go. Like it was a perfectly great call by Kellen, and perfectly executed call by the guys. And then, and just so anyone's wondering, Kellen on that 4th and 1 at the end of the half, I called that, not Kellen. Yep. So I called that play at the end of the half. Kellen did not. I called it. Why? That's what I thought was best for the football team in that particular case. That was my decision. I did it. That's why it didn't work, and we'll get better. I'll get better from it. That's a play I thought was working in the best situation in that particular case, and it didn't work. And that's not on Kellen. That's not on the players. I put them in a bad spot, and I made that call. Have you made a call? Have you made an offensive play call? Come on, man. Yeah.
Is 3 games enough to be having increased concern about ball security with Jalen?
You got to understand there's a lot that goes into an interception. It's not all that meets the eyes. Like, we'll talk about the fumble, and let me talk about the interception first. But the interception has a lot of moving parts, and I'm not, if the guys don't do. Like, I just want everyone to know, like, if the product on the field is not, like, if we make a mistake, a player makes a mistake, it's not on that player. It's always on me and me first. Nobody else. It's on me first. Because I was taught early in this game by my dad that if you coach it, if you're not coaching it, all right, and something happens on that field, that's your responsibility. That's nobody else's responsibility. That's being a man, and that's taking That's what being a man's about, right? Taking responsibility for the shit that you're in charge of. And that's my responsibility. So first and foremost, the interception's on me. And then there's other plays to it. Now, on the fumble, yeah, we got to get two hands on the football, and Jalen will learn from that, right? And we'll have a good response from that. And it's nice when you're able to win and get out of it, but we got to take care of the ball better. There's no doubt. The running backs are doing a really good job of taking care of that football. And you know, it just takes one, though, every once in a while, one hand on the ball. If you got one hand on the ball and anyone touches your arm, it's tough. It's going to come out. So you got to get two hands on the ball on that. He'll be the first one to tell you that. But shoot, he played his butt off today. I got Jalen Hurts is a winner. He's a winner. He wins, right? What you tell me when he hasn't won, he's a winner, right? And man, I'm proud of him. I can't say enough good things about his response. Like, he has the same look on his face the entire game. Now he's getting excited, and I love that about him. That he's getting excited, but he knows it's the sum of all the plays that says who you are, not just one play that everyone's going to talk about. It's not just one play. It's the sum of all plays. And he's the quarterback, and this guy is a freaking winner. He won at Alabama. He won at Oklahoma. He's been he's been winning here over and over and over and over. And you know what? We're the Philadelphia Eagles, so we understand we're going to get criticism. But this dude's a freaking winner. Jalen Hurts is a winner, and he won today.
All right, last one, folks. We got
Yeah, I don't know yet. I haven't got with the guys yet. I just hope he was able to get up on his own. But DeVonta Smith, man, he one of the toughest dudes I know. He is one of the toughest dudes I know, and I'll get an update on how he's doing. Obviously, he didn't come back in the game, but if he would have been able to, he would have, because DeVonta Smith is tough. And man, when one of your best players has that much physical and mental toughness, that's contagious. You find yourself as a head coach of everything you talk about, connection, accountability, toughness, and detail. And the toughness that was played on that field today against a tough team. And DeVonta Smith, man, he is a warrior. He is tough. He puts his body on the line. These guys put their bodies on the line, play in and play out, and he is one guy that does that all the time. I hope he's okay. He got up on his own, and we'll see. I'll get some information here as we see. But, man, he's a warrior, and he's tough.
All right. Thanks, guys.
All right.
Oh, thank you.
There you have Nick Sirianni.
That was weird.
Fran, what was the biggest takeaway from you there? Was it the 4th and 1 call?
Yeah, getting the answer to that. That's something we obviously pondered before he started speaking. So getting the answer there, I thought was big. And then, just he gave us a little bit of a breakdown on his thoughts on the turnovers as well. Didn't dive as deep into the interception as I was hoping for, because it looked like he was going to. And then he was like, a lot of factors there. So maybe we'll get some more.
Listen, an emotional win.
Yeah.
Obviously. And Sirianni in particular was raked through the coals all week. You can understand why he is emotional about this victory. It's a huge win. I do think that talking about he's the one who makes that call, and we heard everything, we hear it all of this stuff, the rabbit-earedness is a little bit of the concern of the current situation with the head coach, where he feels like he has to sort of prove what he does, and so he calls that play in that situation when maybe being a little bit more hands-off would have made more sense. But to the thing that, Jason Kelsey says or that you have talked about, Vinny, the most important thing a head coach can do is sort of set the culture for what guys are doing in the locker room and how hard they're playing, right?
It's like the new phrase these young kids are saying these days, standing on business.
Yeah.
So, but, taking accountability, for some of the calls that he called between last week, this week, I think that was refreshing for some of the fans to hear that.
Yeah, and I think why Nick is loved internally, it goes back to the Seattle game last year where Jalen audibles, but he falls on the sword. Whether that was his call or not, and it probably is. Right? The track record we have with him tells you that's a Sirianni type of play. Even if he didn't call that, even if Kellen Moore did call that play, Nick Sirianni would probably fall on the sword. I really think he's that emotionally intelligent guy that is going to have his guys back in the media. So, right, I believe he called it, but he also, I think, would take blame for it to keep Kellen Moore out of the crosshairs.
We're gonna get this Little League coach on.
So it's another Coach Dan. I know 2 Coach Dans in the league. It's the other Coach Dan. I double checked. I double checked with Coach Dan, and he's like, "Oh my gosh, that was devastating."
All right, I want to run you guys through a couple snap count things. Here. Okay.
Yep.
So let's talk about the defense first. And I think you will not be surprised that the major takeaway here is Bryce Huff's snaps.
Was he 4th in the edge group?
It was 4th in the edge group. As I knew
Is
it
that
was
a
going to happen,
swooper?
I'll let you have it in a swooper.
Part of the swooper.
BG 33 snaps of 53, which is a lot.
Wow.
Yeah.
31 for Josh Sweat, 20 for Nolan Smith, 16 snaps for Bryce Huff after playing it on the first drive, and not much more after that. I don't know, Vinny. You don't need to say anything.
Yeah.
You played with Bryce Huff, but it has not been an encouraging start so far.
All right, so Vinny, walk me through this. How does this go? Like, because obviously the stats are a thing, right? Like everybody kind of knows the stats. Coaches are always asking for them. Players will say they don't care. But like in film review, in study, Bryce Huff is putting a goose egg up 2 weeks in a row. How does that go internally? What's it like in there?
So basically, you guys, just imagine putting on tape. You want to pop out on tape no matter what, whether it's effort, hurry, something. You just want to pop out on tape. Like we talking about Jalen Carter. All right, the man won almost all his one-on-ones today.
Mm-hmm.
Jordan Davis popped out on tape today. He had a sack early. When the defense had to keep going back out there though, you see a little huff and a puffer. But he plays his ass off.
Yep.
So you just want to pop out on tape. Brandon Graham popping out on tape. Josh Sweat popping out on tape.
Yeah, Sweat had a couple of really nice rushes.
Man,
today.
and Nolan. Listen,
Yeah.
He was saying the edge. At the point of contact, he it wasn't nothing. He wasn't giving up the edge. You want to pop out on tape. When I came in, I told you before we got made you want to pop out on tape. And Bryce, we want you to pop out on tape, man. That's it, bro. We with you. We just want you to pop out on tape. That's it. Just pop out on tape.
So the mental part of this, Vinny, when throughout your career, you've obviously had highs and lows. There have been times when you have not been playing as well as you wanted to play. How tough is that? And how much do you fight yourself to not try to do too much or get back to basics? Like, what is that process like for you?
The biggest thing, you lean on your teammates. You lean on your teammates, and at the same time, the only thing you can control in this game is your effort. Which effort make you pop out on tape.
Yeah.
So you just want to control your effort and understand that, listen, we understand this is a paid play business for results. And listen, how we get ready going down to Tampa, and then we're still waiting. So.
Yeah, and Tampa had a loss today, so all of a sudden, week 4 doesn't look quite as, oh my God, Baker Mayfield, MVP of the league, just like Derek Carr was, right? You did sense today, I think, in the universe, there was a comeback to earth reality to this game. Derek Carr and the Saints offense.
Yeah, that's well said.
Yeah, so I think, now looking ahead, getting that W, looking ahead a little bit at Tampa Bay, I go, okay, Baker Mayfield has also returned to earth a little bit as well. So all of a sudden now, and again, I think that all goes to how important this was this week. Mm-hmm. Like with a bye 2 weeks away, now maybe an early bye in the season is a benefit for this team.
Yeah, especially with all those injured stars.
Yeah, seriously.
C.J. Gardner-Johnson in this game, questionable leading in with the foot injury, plays every snap, all 53 for the Eagles on defense, along with Zach Bond, Reed Blankenship, and Quinyon Mitchell. Darius Slay plays 47 snaps. Jalen Carter leads the way for the defensive lineman with 46, followed by Milton Williams with 36, 29 for Jordan Davis, 17 for Ajuma, and 10 for Thomas Booker. And then Avonte Maddox, 26 snaps in this game. Keely Ringo, 8 snaps for those plays when Slay was out. Fran, were you surprised that, given the way that this game was going early for the Saints offense, that they didn't flip the switch to 11 personnel earlier to try to keep the Eagles in nickel, because they were not doing as good enough job against the run?
A little bit. And that's why I do want to see, because sometimes you miss it during the flow of the game. You're watching on the broadcast. I'm interested to see were there some reps where they came out in 11 personnel, 3 receivers, and the Eagles responded either by staying in base or by going right to that 5-1 front and still having success. And they said, you know what, let's get back to running out of base personnel. So I am interested to go back and see were there adjustments that the Saints made, because we saw, look, that opening drive for the Eagles, yes, it ends up in 3 points. They converted 3 times on third down, a couple third and longs. But the three of us all looked at each other and said, we were like, hey, you know what? Like that was a good start from the defense. We saw some good things there. And I think the big thing was the checks that the Eagles made. All right, how was New Orleans going to respond to that? I'm interested to go back and see what exactly New Orleans did try and tweak.
Yeah, we'll be go ahead.
I just had a thought pop into my head. He was crying in a week 3 press conference.
I don't know that he was crying.
He got choked up. He got verklempt.
I mean, I cry watching commercials sometimes.
Yeah. The reason I bring it up is well, that's fair. I cried during Click, the Adam Sandler classic. The reason I bring it up is, to your point, like tight butts last week.
Yeah, definitely.
I think that was an emotional release there of how tight it really was in that locker room.
And it also shows you that how much you believe in his players.
Sure.
You know, when you have a coach like that who absolutely got your back and believe in you and believe in your ability, and you're not playing to your ability, what you're capable of playing, and when you do play to your ability and you're capable of playing, he's excited. He's showing passion there.
It's wild, though. Tears in a week 3 press conference. I'm sorry, that just really like jumps out to me.
Well, you do have to think about what this week must have been like for Sirianni.
Yeah, that's why I bring it up. It must have been hell.
It's a short week, so you got to turn the script from, frankly, being the reason that they lost that game on Monday night and knowing how much he cares about all the players. I'm sure he feels like he let them down. He has to prove his worth. He's getting it from on top, I'm sure, in addition to saying that he hears everything. Like, yeah, I would imagine there's some real exasperation and relief in finally getting a W.
And honestly, if we watched after Saquon scores the 65-yard touchdown, and obviously he puts the loss on himself last week as well because of that drop that he has at the end of the game. You cut to him on the sideline, and he is like locked in, laser focused, like bouncing up and down, like on the sideline. Like, you get in that mindset, I mean, that emotion's going to come out.
And then you carry that forward to after the 2-point conversion. When Saquon converts, he goes over to the sideline, and he's getting in the face of Jalen Carter, like, now this is your time.
Right.
And it's very much like the guys who felt like they let the team down last week all had that sort of gut check. Absolutely. Like, okay, now it's on me. I gotta make up for that. Absolutely.
And it goes to show you, he was telling them to play smart too. That's what he was. Listen, it's all fun and games for trash talking, but let's not shoot our stuff in the foot here. But just to see the Eagles close out the game like the way we expect them to close out the game, and it was very refreshing, you know?
Yeah. Has Jalen Carter kind of just, I know he was expected to. Does a game like today, Vinny, like just cement him, maybe not as the vocal leader, but as the absolute, like, you know, the dog of the defense?
I would say.
It seems like he took control today.
You know, in Philly, we love consistency. So I would love to see this, you know, next week.
Yep.
If he does it next week, then
you think it's his defense?
Yeah,
it's true, though. There is a bit of a high variance.
Sure, absolutely.
I think that's absolutely part of the experience.
Yeah, but he's a beast, though, man. Like, he's a beast. And, you know, last week they double-teamed him. They slid. They did everything. You know what I mean? But Vic, once again, let's give Coach Vic his flowers. He put guys in position to make plays, and the guys made plays.
Next Gen is starting to put a couple stats out, and the one for the Eagles defense. The Eagles defense converted 94.7% of their tackling opportunities against the Saints, missing just 3 total tackles.
Wow.
In the first 2 weeks, they were just 81%. That was the 3rd lowest of any defense in the NFL. So a huge day just coming back and making sure you win your one-on-ones.
Yeah. What does that tell you, Vinny?
Last week I said we have to not miss tackles.
Yep.
You put the missed tackle column into single digit missed tackle.
Yep.
It's like an 87% chance you're going to win the game or have a great defensive game.
Oh, you didn't know?
Call somebody.
But when you have that though, sorry, brother. When you have that though, that's what, you know, it goes back to 3rd down, and the Eagles were the Saints were just 6 of 13 on 3rd down. I'm just looking at the down and distances here. You have a 3rd and 1 early, then it's 3rd and 8, 3rd and 9, 3rd and 14, 3rd and 22. There's a 3rd and 9, a 3rd and 5, a 3rd and 11. Like, instead of it being 3rd and 4, 3rd and 5, 3rd and 2, you start if you are not giving up those free yards with missed tackles, that puts you in a better spot on 3rd and long.
All right, let's talk about our friends at Indeed before we get to Zach Berman from the Superdome. At Indeed, they are driven by the search for better. But when it comes to hiring, the best way to search for a candidate isn't to search at all. Don't search, match, and do it with Indeed. If you need to hire, you need Indeed. Indeed is your matching and hiring platform with over 350 million global monthly visitors, according to Indeed data, and a matching engine that helps you find quality candidates fast. Ditch the busy work. Use Indeed for scheduling, screening, and messaging so you can connect with candidates faster. And listeners of this show will get a $75 job-sponsored credit to get your jobs more visibility at Indeed.com/AllCity. Just go to Indeed.com/AllCity right now and support our show by saying you heard about Indeed on this podcast. Indeed.com/AllCity. Terms and conditions apply. You need to hire. You need Indeed.
And let me tell you about one of my favorite stores to go to, and that's Ace Hardware. When you walk into Ace, not only are they going to help you with the job that you're, undertaking at your own home, but now with Ace Hardware Home Services, they can bring the service you trust and know and love from the stores. It's great. You walk in a store, you got like 5 old contractors that can tell you exactly how to get a job done, what parts you need. Well, why not take that wealth of knowledge and experience into your own home? Got a leaky pipe? Ace Hardware Home Services has got a guy. Got an air conditioning issue? They have a person for that. If you got a faucet that's leaking, whatever it was, from plumbing to heating to cooling, whatever the honey-do list job that you haven't got around to is, I have to call them because I got a clogged tub. To be honest with you, these damn women in their hair.
It's not good.
They never use the right plug I got, Fran. It's terrible. 3 girls are killing me. I got to get Ace Hardware Home Services out to my house, and you should too. So visit Ace Hardware Home Services online at acehardwarehomeservices.com to get you started on your next project.
Women be shopping.
I got the plug with the hair catcher, and then the girls are always playing with it. She gave up on it. Now the tub's it's slow draining. It's a disaster. I got the right plug at everything.
I'm so sorry.
It's tough, man. I got no hair, and now I'm paying Ace to come out to my house to get hair out of my drains.
That is a tough irony.
Yeah, come on. All the money I'm saving on shampoo, right down the drain.
All right, let's talk offensive snap counts now. 60 snaps for the offense. Mailata, Hurts, Dickerson, Juergens play all 60. Now, Jahan Dotson plays 54 snaps in this game.
Wow, did he?
Like almost the whole game. Finishes with 2 catches for 8 yards. And also had 1 catch that was a little bit better called back for penalty. But
yeah, not an ideal end of the game with Jahan Dotson, Johnny Wilson, and Paris Campbell out on the field.
That said, I'm pretty sure Jahan Dotson is the one responsible for freeing Goddard on the long touchdown. He's the one who sort of weaves through the middle and gets those 3 guys to run into each other.
Which they coach.
Yep. You know what? Worth the pick.
Yeah.
There you go.
3 targets? Yeah, 3 targets, which is 2 more than Britton Covey, so that's a swooper. Down column for me.
You are a true.
Not that we're keeping track or anything.
Very good. DeVonta 52, Goddard 51, Saquon 51 snaps.
Yep.
Saquon out there today, I would say, Vinny, running like Noah Curry.
Yeah, man. Saquon. Man, listen, like that's what we want to see, though. We wanted to see that run today. Like, we're watching that game live. We're going crazy in here. And I'm pretty sure, all the Eagle fans, wherever whatever you guys were watching the game at, just to see that run was just so refreshing. And like you said, he looked like he was in another zone. And
5 years. He hasn't gotten to that speed, nearly 22 miles an hour in 5 years. Part of giving him the contract you gave him was banking on the fact that he was going to return to the guy he was. And I don't think there's any doubt about it. He is back to pre-injury Saquon. Dude is just an absolute game changer.
Yeah, and again, when you have the offensive line blocking the way that they did, and again,
you said Tyler Steen's name a lot today.
Tyler Steen and Fred Johnson, both guys did a really nice job on the right side. Obviously, the touchdown came off the left side, but I thought in both pass protection and in the run game, Johnson and Steen both stood out in a big way. To be able to do what you did without Lane and without Mekhi Becton, who both looked awesome last week against Atlanta, to be down both of those guys and still do what you did on the ground was really impressive.
So Scott G in the comments is just saying that Goddard said it was a check down at the line by Jalen.
Oh.
So if that's the case, I mean, even more credit in the world to Jalen for that play call.
And Steen, for what it's worth, you talking him up as another example of a guy who obviously has been beaten down by what the perception of him has been. He was the starting right guard going into camp. Becton takes the job, and for him to come in this game, another guy who was rebounding and sort of standing on business, I guess.
Standing on business. Listen, anytime, you can stand on business and you got Saquon in the back, it make things a lot easier. So
it does feel like a long time since the last kind of like mega splash running back play has happened. Just off the top of my head, I'm sure there's one more recent that is coming to me, but it does feel like a long time since it's been a running back play of that magnitude.
Yeah, I mean, in week 2 last year against Minnesota, DeAndre Swift had a couple impressive runs, but I mean, none that were as important as that 65-yard touchdown. I mean, that was huge in this game.
And I think from the Saquon standpoint, from the roster composition discussion, what they did this offseason, I mean, it was a good thing they had him, given that they lost those guys, and I think it speaks well to the comparison of, would you rather have Saquon or Darnell Mooney there for that money, right?
Sure.
If Darnell Mooney's out there, maybe you're not getting that explosive play. Like Saquon has looked so far this season every bit of what they paid for.
He's looked so good. I'd like to see less Kenny Gainwell, especially on third and obvious passing situations early in the game. Saquon probably picks that block up. I kind of get in my little annoyingness and the obsession with Kenny Gainwell is kind of becoming my new
hair in the drain.
Yeah, basically. Why isn't my wife and the girls using the drain plug I got?
Gainwell played 9 snaps, but yes, those snaps.
But they're always on third and shorts, and
I will say also, coming back out there for that last drive, it wasn't no panic.
No,
they did look
calm. It was a little kind of calm, cool, collective. I said, oh, they about to win this.
Which is a funny, we've talked about this before, but the disparity between the composition of Jalen, so calm, so demure,
so mindful,
versus the head coach who's stalking around like a crazy person. You need them in that situation to take on the personality of the quarterback.
Yeah, we need coach to chill out. We got to give him a blood pressure pill. You know what I mean? Because I was saying I might need a blood pressure pill. Yeah. But then the way they just took the field on that last drive, I was like, oh yeah, they got this. So.
Jamie, what did you think of the fourth down decisions from Sirianni in this game?
Before the half, after last week, I previous games probably shouldn't really incredibly dictate how you go about it. I would have taken the 3 points before the half there. And luckily, because all of a sudden on that last drive, all you would have needed was a field goal. Yeah. It kind of changed the game in a major way. And coming off of last week, being shut out, going into the half with some points as opposed to 0 points, I totally would have. I would have taken the field goal there like a coward.
Let's see what Jalen Hurts has to say after an emotional win for the team.
Times where we're having conversations in the offseason, and he's coming to Houston. Dallas is coming to Houston. Spending a lot of time there, building that connection and building that rapport. Just waiting for the opportunity to come, wing first number to be called, and he had a career day today. And not only him, obviously Saquon, but the defense, a career day, and. Just the way our defense responded, the way they responded off of a tough game last week, in a short week, I'm so excited for them. I'm so happy for them. Excited to just see them continue to grow, and obviously us grow as a team.
On that final drive down, AJ, DeVonta, Lynch, how'd you guys do it?
I noticed that as the game went on, there was some new faces in the huddle, but it didn't matter. It didn't matter. Being able to persevere, and like I said, it's games like that when it's gritty and you have to overcome some things that are in front of you. You lean on the preparation. And we had moments from last week's game that we learned from very directly, situationally, how we approached it, how we played it, and there's some moments that we definitely want back. But even for a guy like Paris Campbell to step in, and I think he had 3 catches or so, time spent in the offseason, not knowing when your number is going to be called. Obviously had a moment where is he going to make the roster or not, then look at him. Look at him showing up. So tons of love and respect for him and how he showed up. Even just Jahan, how he showed up when his number was called. And obviously Smitty, prayers out to him. I don't know anything, but I know it's a special game for him, and I'm happy as a team we found a way to win in his home state. And so hopefully that's something that he could, hear these words and be proud of.
What did you see on the big pass to Dallas that he ran down?
Yeah, and we had a great setup there, great call, and he just made a great play. Obviously getting the ball to the guy that I needed to in that situation, and he did the rest. He told me if he had my speed, he would have scored, but we ended up figuring it out anyway.
Sorry, on that 61-yarder, couple guys mentioned that there was a pre-snap check. I guess what did you see before the snap, and also how hard was it to make checks with how loud it was?
It's operation. It's operation. You never want to get too high, get too low in those moments. You're gonna have things that happen in the game. You're gonna have things that go your way and that don't. You're gonna have things that you want back and things that you'll be proud of. But in the end, it's about how you execute it. Trusting the preparation in that. We try to put ourselves in different situations to be prepared for those things. And there are some things that don't come up that you didn't think about, but it's all a learning thing. I sat here this week, or after last week's game, and I said to you guys, it's really no difference between winning and losing. It's a matter of if you learn. And I'm just excited that we were able to learn from last week's game and this game, and hopefully we can continue to just learn as we move forward. We've had different situations come out throughout each week, and I think those will present opportunities for us to continue to grow in all those situations.
Part of managing the chaos, part of the managing the chaos of the game, you mentioned how this was, some of the game was things that aren't sustainable, in some of the penalties, on a couple of rushes, it seemed like he took some passes that ended up being negative yards. How do you immediately after a game process some of those things and how they can be fixed?
I have to watch the film to be able to fairly assess it.
On Wednesday, you said you want to be in those situations. When there's 2 minutes left.
You asked me that question. You did.
What's that?
I said you asked me that question.
So,
That's Zach.
2 minutes left. When
Isn't it?
Field, what are you thinking?
Make it happen. And that's a team effort. It's a team effort. That's full trust in everybody, on everybody's part. And I'm just proud that we learned from the situation last week. I was pleased with the communication, and that's been a process, as I've said. But everybody stepped up today. Everybody stepped up today, and we responded to adversity. We communicated well, and there was never a doubt. And so, as I said, there are always opportunities to learn from, opportunities for growth, and if we can just continue to grow from all these moments and allow them to be teachable moments for us, we'll continue to progress.
What did you learn from the adversity that you faced in the game? And obviously, the turnovers, the fourth downs, and all that. How do you kind of keep your poise through all of that when everything's kind of
It's not it's no secret to it. It's no just keep the main thing the main thing. It's a lot of all the things that I often say. Just keep pressing forward and trusting in the prep and trusting in the guys around you. It's a team effort tonight. I know that those crucial moments, it'll be all eyes on one individual, but one individual didn't make this happen today. And the way our defense played, the way we showed up at the end, that offense was rolling for 2 weeks, putting up a lot of points, a lot of yards, a lot of efficiency, and after a tough week last week, our defense played a hell of a game, and that's something to be proud of.
I wanted to ask about just your mental aspect. What do you self-talk when you tell yourself, even going back from in college days, the things that you endured, and then even today, like you mentioned, the interception, the fumble early in the game. What do you do to kind of keep yourself uplifted in those moments?
Yeah, I don't think it's anything necessarily to get down on. It's just an opportunity to grow from. I've had a lot of teachable moments throughout my career, and I'm fortunate for that. I've gone through a lot of different things that not everyone is going through, and I think those things have propelled me to be the player and the person that I am, on and off the field. The leader that I am even, and like I said, you're gonna have joyful moments and you're gonna have painful moments. You're gonna have things you like in the game and things you don't like in the game, but in the end, it's about how you respond. And I think it's so important to keep the main thing the main thing. And,
yeah, there it is.
And don't ride waves, just control the cruise. And weather it. And so I'm just proud of that, and proud of how we responded. And continue to grow from it. And enjoy this. For a little bit, and then get on to Tampa next week.
When you see the statistical dominance you guys had in this game, you take that as a positive, or is there some sense of frustration that you could have got out of here with a little easier victory?
Yeah, I think naturally you demand the best of yourself. I know I'm my own biggest critic in that, and how I lead this team and how I lead the offense. And so I'm going to hold myself to a high standard to that. And my standard is the highest with that. But statistically, it's pretty fascinating to see how the game went on both sides of the ball. How many first downs we had, how efficient we were. Just weren't able to get in the paint. And so we just want to learn from those moments, learn from those situations. I don't think us being able to progress the ball is an issue. We just have to find ways to be efficient when we get down, in the red zone. And obviously, I got to do a better job of protecting the ball. I trust my guys to make plays, but I got to be better with that. And the fumble is unacceptable in that, regardless of the circumstances. And so I own all of those things. And I'll learn from it, and I'll continue to be the best I can for my team.
Thanks, John.
Thank you. Nice to meet you.
So there you have Jalen Hurts, and we'll hear from Zach Berman in a minute. He is right, and as you have pointed out, Jamie, 26 turnovers since the start of last season is the most in the league, 3 more than Josh Allen, and also 3 more than Sam Howell. Poor Sam Howell getting buried there.
Yeah, it's kind of what makes it as frustrating it is, because when he isn't making a poor decision on the turnovers, he's playing pretty damn well.
Yeah.
It's just the quantity of turnovers, the times they're coming. A red zone turnover is deflating. Especially when it's a quick drive down and you do it, the defense doesn't get a break. So it's just he just needs to cut those down, and I think everybody feels great about him. It's just the turnovers are the thing that's driving you nuts.
Give me your Dallas Goedert stat, Fran.
So this is another one from
Because I've
Next
got a couple
Gen.
as well.
Yeah, there's another one from Next Gen. So Dallas Goedert gained a career high 117 of his 170 yards after the catch. Obviously, that was a lot of that carried by that long catch in the fourth quarter. His 61-yard catch and run with 116 remaining increased the Eagles' win probability from 10.2% to 63.9%. That's from Next Gen's model. So obviously a game-changing play there from Dallas Goedert.
True Media has it at 118 yards after the catch instead of 117. So big fight between these two companies.
Obviously, we are Team True Media in that case.
But we talked about this in the summer. This has, that play is a bit fluky, right?
Yep.
But part of what has made Dallas Goedert so good for the Eagles over the past few years is that superpower of Yak. And it was sort of not gone, but diminished last year. They needed to get it back. That was 118 yards after the catch, the second most for a tight end since 2018 in any game. That was a George Kittle game back then. And the most receiving yards for an Eagles tight end this century.
Yak.
That's pretty good. Pretty good.
Thank you.
What happened on the blocked punt, Vinny?
Man, so I just looked like it was a miscommunication.
Yeah.
Nolan Smith, he had the inside guy, but just let the outside guy go free. So there had to be a miscommunication, and that right there had made my heart go into my stomach, and I was just like, oh damn, But we was able to prevail.
To be losing the turnover battle by 2 and have a blocked punt and still come out and win the game. You get a turnover at the very end to even it, but.
So my takeaway was the Eagles
that's why you're able to outgain them by over 200 yards. And
they're never punting again. Right? Is that the Sirianni way?
Why should they?
Yeah, it was a negative play.
Yeah.
Because if you're going to end a possession, you might as well just throw a turnover, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
But that's why I am interested to hear from Mike Clay on Wednesday, right?
Yeah, Tuesday.
So when the coordinators speak, my guess is that they're asking Nolan to pick 2 for 1 there, and that he's going to have one on his inside half, one on his outside half, and they probably just wanted to be a little bit stronger with that outside arm, with that outside leg, and he kind of softened up the corner. But I'm interested to hear that might be a protection thing, and he's supposed to only get his outside. I'm interested to hear from Coach Clay on Tuesday on that.
Yeah, that'll be interesting.
That's the point where I thought the game was over.
Yeah,
I'm telling you, my heart went in my stomach. I was like, oh man.
I'll tell you what, though, the Eagles are getting pretty good at defending guys who have gotten the ball on the opposing defense. Like, DeVonta Smith running down a guy who's picked off Jalen Hurts. They're getting a lot of practice. They're getting pretty good at it.
Yeah. I'm not sure it's the practice you want to be getting, but they do have it.
All right. We do have the man himself, the author of the franchise, which is coming out on Tuesday, Zach Berman from the Superdome. A little bit less noisy than it was in the pregame. Great to see you. You're looking good. How are you?
Doing well. Sorry to keep you guys waiting. That was an energized locker room for sure. I don't want to say it was relief. It was more I told you so. That was the kind of approach throughout the locker room.
Yeah,
there was
sure,
a
I
lot
love
of you
that.
guys. There was a lot of you guys were writing us. You guys were writing us off. That kind of thing. And yeah, I walked in. The music was loud as could be. It was Jigga Juice, little Josh and Ernest. If you're familiar with that one, Bo. Yeah, I mean, that the speakers were. What's that? The speakers. I'm trying to give you the color here. It was pulsating. They were, the media relations staff was trying to figure out how to turn down the music. Those guys didn't want to turn the music down. It was loud. It was excited in there. CJ Gardner-Johnson sitting by his lot. Everyone's, and Vinny knows this. Everyone's changing. They want to get home, right? CJ Gardner-Johnson sitting by his locker, full uniform. Okay, his right leg crossed over his left leg, leaning back, just waiting. Right now, CJ. Even on good days, sometimes it's hard to get him to talk. But he was ready to talk, and he had a lot he wanted to say. This was a big win for CJ. Nick Sirianni. Did you guys run Nick Sirianni's press conference? I haven't watched the show.
Quite weird.
Yeah, I mean, I need another chapter in the book for today's game, apparently, right? Because the first answer was 6.5 minutes, and it was like, he wanted to know what. I guess the question that I thought the story of the game. I understand fourth down calls, all that, the way the defense played, but to me, you're down DeVonta Smith, AJ Brown, Lane Johnson, Mekhi Becton, 2 minutes to go. You need a touchdown. Did anyone? I'm asking. Did anyone in the studio think they were going to win that game?
No.
Did anyone watching at home think they were going to win that game?
Yes.
AJ Brown says that Dallas got. You did?
Well, I think some people at home did. Yeah.
Okay. AJ Brown says that okay, thank you. In the middle of painting the scene here, painting the picture. AJ Brown says to Dallas Goedert, put on your cape. Okay? And Dallas Goedert puts on the cape, has the biggest play of his career. 3rd and long there.
I mean, it's week 3, let's be fair. He had a pretty nice play in the Super Bowl.
Okay. All right. I mean, if he doesn't make that play, and I understand there's a lot that goes into that play. Jahan Dotson, you heard what Nick said, that the rubber out there was critical. But if he doesn't make that play, they're 1-2. I don't know what city I'm landing into tomorrow morning, right? That, and now it's I told you so. We tuned everybody out. You dealt with adversity. It would be hyperbole to say that's a season-changing win. Just like it probably would have been hyperbole to say that would have been a season-ending loss. But I can tell you, I've covered regular season games now I've covered this team for 13 years. You know what a regular season locker room is like typically. That was different than a typical regular season locker room. That was a locker room that was excited as could be, and you heard Nick say it, they felt this week. As much as they say they tuned it out, they felt the criticism, and they made it happen. So
what did CJ Gardner-Johnson say, Zach?
So I posted the full video up there because, or not that as much as I could post. He said that he knew Derek Carr was going to throw them one, it was bound to happen. He said, I thought I was giving him a layup question, right? You're facing an offense that's been the top in the NFL in 2 weeks. He didn't even let me finish. He said, top in what? Top in what? Well, top in points, right? That's how I answered. And he said, they're not the top offense. We're the top secondary. He said, I'm saying, I'm using the way he said it. And he's giving shout out to this person and, every single person in there. He talked about that. He was talking about coming back to New Orleans. They traded him. He told us that he pulled up his shirt to show, he still has a tattoo from, that New Orleans is still a part of him. They traded him. He talked about how, I asked what they proved this week, and he used a lot of words that I don't think we're allowed to use on our show anymore. But some choice words about how they showed, how they showed what they were, and like don't F with these guys, right? And that
Mentioning competing
so
sponsors.
there was, what's that?
Nothing. Go ahead.
Okay. So that was CJ Gardner-Johnson. Jalen Carter, spoke to Jalen Carter in the locker room after the game. I asked him specifically. We all, so I don't know if they showed it on TV. The coaches
they did.
had to hold him back. Oh, okay, yeah. I mean,
Yeah, what was that
and
about?
The honey
well,
badger.
he said that he saw a lot of Eagles fans. He was just trying to rev them up. I can tell you that there was stuff on the field during the late in the game when Jalen Carter was in the face of some of these Saints defenders. Actually, I thought after I'm sorry, the Saints offensive lineman. I thought after Reed Blankenship's interception that Carter might get flagged for a taunting or something because everyone else is celebrating with Reed Blankenship. Jalen Carter is over waving goodbye to the Saints,
Nice.
the Saints
Honestly,
sideline.
Good.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then when the Eagles were taking a knee, the Saints defensive players were up there in Jalen Carter's face, and he was talking back. He said he was pumped about the win. He saw a lot of Eagles fans on the sideline. He was trying to rev them up. I don't think that's what it was. But he said he wants to be, the best defensive player in football, wants to be a Hall of Famer, and so on and so forth. I asked him about bouncing back this week. He said, because that's what Nick Sirianni said, that about the way they rebounded, and he said it was really the whole team, and that he told Jalen on this. He told Jalen Hurts on the sideline, we got you after some of those plays. So that Jalen Carter it was an energized locker room. I was going back and forth because I wanted to hear Nick, and I didn't stay the whole time for Nick. So I'm glad you ran it because, again, I have a flight at 5 a.m. tomorrow. I didn't know I'd make it back by the end of Nick, right? So he was rolling with that first answer, and the second answer, and third answer. And then Jalen Hurts. So you spoke Jalen Hurts. Dallas Goedert was he joked he's got to work on his speed there, but it was a rub route, and he gave a lot of credit to Dotson in that moment. But yeah, so those were some of the big takeaways. But
Zach,
but overall, if you want
Oh, sorry. I was just going to say, I know immediate injury updates aren't always the thing, but the IL list took a hit today with Lane Johnson, DeVonta Smith, Britton Covey, and then a very cheap play by Trevor Penning, throwing Slay into the bench late. Was there any talk about, one, the cheap play, or two, any injury updates on any of these guys?
I saw Britton Covey leaving the locker room with a sling. His arm was in a sling. Slay and Lane Johnson confirmed concussions, right? So there's a league mandated concussion protocol there. And that's even out of the team's hands right now, right? They have to get cleared, the independent neurologist, and there's a whole stage there that they have to go through for DeVonta. I mean, in the building, that was a scary situation, and talked to some guys in there who was scary on the field, right? And for and so we don't know the extent of that yet. But that's a concussion. That's the ruling there. Lane, this is, I believe, his fourth documented concussion. Since he got to the NFL, I've covered his whole career, so I looked that up, and yeah, it's 4 concussions for him. And I mean, Vinny can probably tell me this more than I can tell you guys. Sometimes, I mean, those are only the ones we know about, right? So I don't know what else there's been there, but that's obviously a concern. Slay, I didn't chat with Slay in the locker room. I was bouncing with a few other guys. I mean, I did hear secondhand he's okay. He was in there getting changed. I don't think that's serious right now.
To me, that seems like there was some chippy play on the Saints' part today, and obviously you can't go out there and get penalties and shoot yourself in the foot, Zach. But it seems like the Eagles should be pissed about how some of those plays went.
Yeah, I mean, in the locker room after the game, I'm sure they were pissed, right? But in the locker room, they were mostly just euphoric about the win, right? As I said, this wasn't a typical winning locker room. Like, the only one we have comparison to this year is Brazil. I mean, this was much more animated than Brazil. This one, they felt it for sure.
Vinny, what is your your concussion history, if we're allowed to ask?
I would say I don't have any reported concussions.
Okay.
That's good.
Have I got my bell rung or my head been ringing? I'm pretty sure. I mean, that comes with the territory in the game. But concussions is a serious thing, man, especially when you're playing hard as hell. So
and then the scariness of seeing your teammate down on the ground.
Yeah,
right? Stuff. What was the scene like in the stadium, Zach?
For the DeVonta play, or I mean, it went silent. Players, all most Eagles were around DeVonta kneeling. It was. I mean, this is a place that's always loud, and it was silent then. I didn't know if a cart was going to come off the field, and then I heard a big round of applause. That's when DeVonta started to move, and he walked off on his own. But yeah, it was a scary moment at the time, and then you saw the play happen, and you kept waiting for a whistle, right? They were just pushing him back, and then that hit from behind there that looked like it knocked him out. Jalen, you heard Jalen say that this game was especially meaningful for DeVonta. I spoke to DeVonta this week about that. Like he grew up a Saints fan. He's played in this stadium 3 times in his life, twice in high school, once in college. This is his first time back. He was 1-2 coming into this game. This was his first time coming back as an NFL player. He wanted there's his favorite restaurant here. He planned on go to last night. He wanted to get a beignet while he was here. And so this weekend was meaningful to him for sure.
What is his favorite restaurant? Did he tell you?
Yes, he did. And the reason I haven't said it is because I'm sorry. Is because there's so he has an accent, okay? And it's one of two. Well, it's one of 2 things. Okay, so it could be there's two potential restaurants it could be. There's a word that I think he said, and there's the word that it sounds like. And I certainly don't want to say this is his favorite restaurant. And it's like, and then he's like, Zach, I've never been there, right? I do know. I went to Baton Rouge, and he told me he told me that this restaurant to go to Baton Rouge, and this is so my sister texted me, what weird place are you going to go to, because she knows that I like to kind of like get the local cuisine. And I said, actually, DeVonta gave me a recommendation, and DeVonta told me the specific dish to get, and I can tell you what that dish is here. I have to read the exact thing. DeVonta told me to get a crawfish etouffee baked potato, which is described as a baked potato with cheese filled with crawfish etouffee and topped with 8 fried shrimp, garnished with fresh chives. And
specific amount of fried shrimp.
I was told, my sister said, your stomach can't handle that, Zach. And I was like, Devon, but I did comment, before I know DeVonta got hurt. That's kind of what we're focusing on here. But I did comment to somebody in the organization today, because I was talking about how much I like New Orleans, but I said, I don't know where DeVonta puts it, right? The food here is so heavy, and DeVonta's the lightest guy on the team, right? But he loves the food down here.
So you didn't make it there?
I didn't make it there. Look, as a sports, I have no sympathy for sports writers who complain about travel. Like, we're lucky to travel. But there was in the Baton Rouge airport yesterday, there was a scene out of Seinfeld, where like Jerry says, you can take the reservation, but you can't hold the reservation. They had no cars in the rental car place. They're like, there's a game today. I'm like, I know, that's why I'm here, So they had to wait for the cars to come. And it wasn't just me. There was like a line of 12 people waiting for the cars to come back in. But I didn't get in my car until 2 hours before kick.
Brutal. All right. Now, let's give you a chance, Zach, to talk about the big week ahead and the book that comes out on Tuesday. But I do have to start. Last week when you left, Vinny, he's got a little something to say.
Ooh, forgot about this all.
Let's hear.
Where's the Vinny Curry in this book?
That's a great question. I can tell Vinny that there was a book that came
On
out.
behalf of my client.
There's a book that came out in 2018 called The Franchise. I'm sorry, called
Here we go.
called Underdogs, where Vinny has a prominent role in that book. That was on the 2017
that's what he said.
team.
He said he came to me for the last one. He couldn't come to me again?
Yeah. Vinny has a prominent role in that book. I got to say, this book's about 25 years, and I had to be judicious. Vinny's an awesome player. One of my favorite stories I've ever written is about Vinny's shoe collection. But look, I mean, Trent Cole doesn't have a chapter in this book. Trent Cole's one of the great pass rushers in franchise history.
But the best.
So there's a lot of tough omissions in this book. Vinny was one of them for sure. But there were I think 10 players highlighted from this period. And unfortunately, Vinny but Vinny is in the book, I believe, from in the chapter on the 2017 team.
As long as I get a signed copy, we good.
There we go.
Need a signed copy.
You got it. You got it.
You can shake him down for more than that. Give us what the week is like ahead for you, Zach.
Well, no, okay, and then I had a question to you guys about the game too.
Sure.
But yeah, I'll give you the week ahead. Is that God, my son's got to stop calling right now. I'm on the show.
He's fired up.
Conference him.
Yeah. So I get back tomorrow. I got to watch the tape from this game. I need to write about this game. I mean, I'm behind with some writing. I have a story from the weekend that I'm working on. But Tuesday, the book comes out. I got some media lined up for Tuesday. I have a book signing, a private one on Thursday. I have some events coming up that I will publicize on our show. Some not this weekend, but some because I'm in Tampa this weekend. But in upcoming home game weekends, in upcoming home game weekends. So it's exciting. I mean, the book finally comes out, and I hope people read it. But I really hope people read it and enjoy it, and get to relive some of these moments and get some answers on some things and learn some new things about the team and maybe some things that they didn't realize from before. But yeah, so it's a big week of people are going to be, if like the Kelceys are overexposed, people say, I'm going to overexpose the heck out of this book. Like people are going to mute me on Twitter, on Instagram. I got to get a TikTok, right? That's right. Yeah, I got to flood the zone. No, I won't do that. I won't do that.
You never know. Whatever sells.
There's a lot of users on that platform, Zach.
Well, you do got to go where the customer. You do got to go where the customers are, but you got to draw a line somewhere. A man must have a coach.
All right, what's your question?
You guys watch Nick. I know the fourth down decisions would have been the big story had they not won this game. Nick volunteered that he called that play, not Kellen. Do you buy that?
It's funny you say that, Zach. I said earlier, I think the reason people in the building love him is even if it wasn't his call, I think he falls on the sword. I do think it was his call, but I think if it was Kellen Moore's, Nick would tell you it was him too.
Yeah, I buy it because I only think you go for it there if you're trying to get more than just a yard. And so the decision to go is contingent upon the upside has to be to try to get a touchdown. And so I absolutely think that was his call. What do you think?
It strikes me as odd that Nick's not calling any plays until a 4th and 1 with 10 minutes. Like it just strikes me as like why is he why is he stepping in that moment? I mean, I think it's his decision to go. Yeah, it's his decision to go for the 4th down. I don't think he's calling that. Like I got to think Kellen's calling the play.
Well, then Nick fell on the sword.
Yeah, or I would say this. I would say this, Zach. I think he wanted to get that 4th down play so bad so he could let it be known, like, you like that play right there. So that's
interesting.
The vibe he kind of gave us at the press conference. Like he was so disappointed, like, damn, I wanted that to work so bad. So
I also don't think that the idea of covering for someone else's play call is that smart of a thing if it means that you're overriding their play call in the first place. Right? Like, I think you would only come clean about that if you were actually doing it.
Yes.
Given the unsureness about who's actually calling plays to begin with.
Yeah.
I don't know. All right, Zach. Any other final thoughts from down in the bayou, down in New Orleans?
I'm excited for the show tomorrow. I'm going to have a lot, I'm going to have a lot for us to discuss then. But just really I can't get over that final drive. My story is going to focus on that final drive. You heard me ask Jalen about, Jalen said on Wednesday, I asked him about the interception. He says he wants to be in this situation. And given the players who were out, that was the first question I asked Nick. Like I thought they're not winning this game. So for them to have that drive, that is a huge statement drive. That Dallas Goedert play, you say that's not the biggest play of Dallas Goedert's career. I think it is the biggest play of Dallas Goedert's career. They're 1-2 and the sky is falling if he doesn't make that play. It was what, 3rd and 16? 3rd and 16. I mean, they lose that game. And I'll get more this week on some of the specifics about the play. I'll talk to some people behind the scenes about that play, but that's just I mean, again, I don't want to be guilty of hyperbole, but that was a potential season changing, not season defining, but a season changing play.
Exactly.
You're 2-1 right now. It's huge.
All right. So where do you rank that play amongst the 4th and 26?
I mean, I compared it to the Westbrook punt return
Yeah.
earlier. That's how big I thought it was.
Yeah. Good one. Yeah, 4th and 26 was in the playoffs, so I got to rank 4th and 26 higher.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
That one is in the book.
But
That got to be in the book. It got to be in the book.
It doesn't have a chapter, but it does. It certainly has a page, 2 page. Yeah, I mean, look, this book's only 317 pages. My man Ray Didinger wrote, the Eagles Encyclopedia. That's encyclopedia. This is just a curated
I actually have
history.
that book. I actually went to a book signing and got that book.
Yeah, I've got it.
I did.
Yep.
I was at a book signing with him Friday. We had a lot of PHLY Eagles listeners come and have some feedback on the show, some things I can apply this week for sure. But yeah, that play, I think the comparison to the Brian Westbrook punt return is what I would say. There is a chapter on Brian Westbrook, by the way. If I may say, a real good chapter. Enjoyed the conversation with Brian Westbrook.
I got to see Berman back in here. I thought I was going off my skis
What's that?
here.
Instead of Vinny Curry,
Brian Westbrook.
Not Vinny.
What's that?
But
What's that?
Because Brian Westbrook is one of my all-time favorites. So
Yeah.
I'll be living through him through the book.
Brian Westbrook's an Eagles Hall of Famer, right? So I mean, I couldn't know. Now Trent Cole's an Eagles Hall of Famer too, so I shouldn't use that as the barometer. Trent Cole should have a chapter. That was an omission on my part. That was more of a deadline thing.
Cole chapter, and you gave it to Nick Cole instead.
If I had a Nick Cole's not in the book. That's one name that's not in the book. Yeah.
He's in the chat.
Nice to guy. New Mexico. New Mexico State. A true Nick Cole story, by the way, is that Lehigh University. I was driving back from the practice field, the Goodman campus to where the Eagles were. Nick Cole needed a ride. I guess he was waiting for the shuttle at the time. And the shuttle wasn't there. He asked me for a ride. I said, sure. I gave Nick Cole a ride, and I don't think he was expecting to have 5 minutes of conversation with me. I thought he thought I was going to be like the shuttle drivers, But here I am, this 20-year-old, 21-year-old earnest wannabe reporter, and I'm asking Nick Cole about that practice. He was never more excited to get out of a car than I was like the Uber driver. He didn't shut up.
How did he fit in your car? Was it a comfy fit?
No. But it was a Honda CRV, and he
Very
fit.
Raspy voice, Nick
he
Cole.
sat.
I have a Nick Cole story.
Nice guy though.
Nick Cole. We back when I was an intern, we did the Game Day magazine program, and I was doing superlatives, right? And I asked Kevin Cobb, and one of the questions was slowest player on the team. It's I guess Nick Cole or whatever. But I think that he thought that it was I was asking everybody that question. Instead, I was asking Kevin Cobb 10 different superlative questions. So then the Game Day magazine gets delivered to everybody's locker before the game, and everybody opens it up, and it's just Kevin Cobb says that Nick Cole is slow. He's like, dude, Nick Cole was pissed at me. It's your fault. You're right. I'm sorry. I should have said. Apologies to Kevin Cobb again, more than a decade later.
There you go. If Kevin Cobb's watching, that's the story behind it.
I feel like I just want to sort of keep Zach here for another hour and postpone his writing, but we're having a good time.
This is fun. There's nowhere I'd rather be on game day than at the game, but I am envious sometimes when I watch the show. You guys have a good time in the studio. But yeah, look at that. There is nowhere I would rather be than right here, right now. Looking forward to writing this story.
All right. Well, good luck, Zach. We will read it on allphly.com and make sure that all the sickos who have not done so yet get in their pre-order. You got like 36 more hours to get that pre-order in for the.
Hey, if I can flex here, number one in Amazon. A sicko sent me like a bestseller, and I got excited. It's number one in Mid-Atlantic travel books. There's nothing here about Mid-Atlantic travel, but somehow it got classified as Mid-Atlantic travel. I will take it. There is a screenshot right now. If you go to Amazon.com right now and you look at the franchise, it has a little thing under it that says bestseller. It's from here. It says number one new release, and then next to it, in Mid-Atlantic U.S. travel books.
We got to get you in like the Bird Watchers, book or something too. Spread out those.
Hey, if I can get any, no pun intended. Let's spread it to all types of demographics here. I'm excited for that.
There you go.
Well, thank you very much, Zach. Good luck writing, and we will talk to you tomorrow at 2:00.
Talk to you tomorrow, 2:00. Thanks, guys.
All right, Zach.
All right. Before we close out, give us final thoughts. When you, let's say 2 months from now, 2 years from now, 2 decades from now, what's the one play you'll think about from this game? Is it the Goddard catch and run?
I would say for me, it would be. I got 2 plays.
I think it's the Saquon one.
Yeah, that's what I'm about to say.
Yeah.
Saquon comes to my mind before Goddard. Yeah. Because you were getting shut out when Saquon did that.
I mean, the Goddard play, obviously,
it was a
bigger play in actually the result of the game.
Yeah.
But, it was a freed up thing. He's running totally naked. Like, the Saquon play turned that game around.
And to Fran's point,
was a little bit more skill.
It looked like they were going right so much so that the safety bit into the right side, and Saquon cuts it back and then back, and it doesn't even get touched on the play.
That's something else.
I go back and forth. No, I kind of think I might think of the Goddard play just because it was so unlikely. It just seemed so unlikely they were going to win this game when they got the ball back. You're down DeVonta. You're already down AJ. You don't have no Lane Johnson, no Mekhi Becton. The juice. The Saints had just gone down and scored. I think I might think of the Goddard play. I think that might be the biggest one for me.
Are you with Zach on the biggest play of his career?
It's got to be. The only one I could think of would be one that actually didn't even count in the stat book. Would be the long. Remember the long catch he had against Dallas, where it was the one-hander and it came back on a bogus penalty. That was one of the most impressive plays I've seen from an Eagles tight end, and that one didn't even count.
I think it's the catch along the sideline in the Super Bowl. Beautiful throw from Jalen.
Yeah, I mean that throw from Jalen was unbelievable.
Yeah, I don't know. Yeah. What about you, Vinny? You're thinking of 2.
Well, listen. So the 2 I would pick was the game today, right?
Yeah.
So just like saying the Saquon run, and I would say the Dallas catch. But that Saquon run was just special because the way the game ended last week, to have a momentum switch and a momentum change like that, where the defense is playing lights out like that, and to come out with the victory,
and
that was
the play after the DeVonta
game-changing
hit.
play of the game.
I think that's right. I agree with that. Let's check out our super chats before we get going. From Stone Cold ET says, the Falcons game in reverse is what this was like. Improbable late-game touchdown drive. They score too early, then a back-breaking INT to seal it to trying to push the ball too far down the field. NFL script writers getting lazy. Not a bad point. I mean, it was kind of like the inverse. So
I'm equally as shocked this week as I was last week. So it was just inverted. So,
yeah, would you feel any differently if it had just both games had gone the way that they were looking like they were going with a minute left?
That's a good question.
I thought this week they looked more poised. Last week was a little bit of panicky out.
Yeah, the defense calmed the nerves you had from last week. Like last week was the main concern was the defensive line. We just couldn't do anything. This week they really answered that bell. So I don't know. I think I feel better about the win than I felt worse about the loss. But I'll have to really give you my answer tomorrow morning.
Well, we talked about this before. I kind of think that today was a good gut check on, maybe the defense can really be something.
Sure.
Like there is some upside in this defense. We saw the defensive line really impact this game. We'll see what it's like when they're playing teams that are a little bit more 11 personnel heavy, but that was very encouraging. And on offense, you're going to get your guys back, and so there's still reason to believe that the offense can
Yeah, adding A.J. Brown to this team is going to be amazing.
All right.
Cowboys are down 21-3 to Baltimore at the moment, too.
So the Giants are the real concern in the NFC East.
Yeah.
They went and beat Cleveland. Oh, yeah, they're 2-1 now?
Yeah.
2-1.
Okay.
Yep.
I don't think anybody's too worried about that.
No, that's just fine.
Malik Neighbors looks pretty good.
Well,
He does.
That's true.
Yeah.
All right. Well, that'll wrap it up for the PHLY Mid-Atlantic Travel Podcast presented by Bet365. We will be back tomorrow and all week at 2 o'clock, heading into week 4 next week, a 1 o'clock game in Tampa Bay. The Eagles pulling out an improbable but gutty 15-12 win with no Lane Johnson, no DeVonta Smith, no A.J. Brown. Dallas Goedert making arguably the biggest play of his entire career, and Saquon Barkley, the stars, showing up for the Eagles. 2-1, a bit of a sigh of relief in the city of Philadelphia. So for all of us here, for Vinny Curry, Jamie Lynch, Fran Duffy, Julia behind the scenes,
Zach,
thank you
Zach,
for watching.
Zach.
Zach. Go buy that book wherever books are sold, but presumably like one click of a button type deal. Keep those bestseller numbers up there, and we'll talk to you tomorrow at 2 o'clock. Thanks to Bet365, and for all of us here at PHLY, we thank you for watching. We'll talk to you tomorrow, and as always, we love you.
We all silly like the mayor.